There's a kind of strength that nobody celebrates. It doesn't come with medals. It doesn't get applause. It's the strength of a child who learned too soon that the world wouldn't catch them if they fell. Maybe that child was you. You were the one who stopped crying because no one was listening. The one who became the caretaker when you still needed to be cared for. The one who learned to smile through the chaos because survival depended on it. And now you're an adult, strong, capable, independent. But inside, there's a part of you that never got to rest. A part that's still waiting for permission to finally be small again. This video is for that part of you. Let me ask you something. When people describe you, do they use words like mature, responsible, the strong one? Do they say you have it all together? But what they don't see, what they'll never see unless you tell them, is how exhausting it is to hold yourself together all the time. Because here's the truth. When childhood ends too early, adulthood doesn't feel like freedom. It feels like an extension of a job you never asked for. Psychologists call this parentification. When a child is forced to take on adult responsibilities before they're developmentally ready. But that clinical term doesn't capture the full weight of it, does it? It doesn't describe the little girl who learned to cook dinner at 7 because mom was too depressed to get out of bed. It doesn't capture the boy who mediated his parents' fights, translating anger into apologies, desperately trying to keep the family from falling apart. And it definitely doesn't explain why decades later you still struggle to ask for help. Why you still feel guilty for resting. Why you still carry everyone else's emotions like they're your responsibility. Today we're going deeper. We're talking about the invisible scars left behind when childhood ends too soon, and how those scars shape the adults we become. Let's start with what gets stolen first, your sense of safety. Childhood is supposed to be the one time in life when you don't have to worry, when someone else handles the big stuff, when the world feels held. But for you, that didn't happen. Instead, you became hyper-aware. You learned to read the room before you even entered it. You studied faces, voices, moods, trying to predict danger, trying to keep the peace, trying to make sure everything didn't fall apart. Psychologist Jean Piaget talked about the stages of childhood development, how children learn through play, imagination, and exploration. But when you're busy managing adult problems, you skip those stages. You bypass the very experiences that teach you it's safe to be human. And here's what happens next. You grow up, you move out, you build a life. But that old instinct, it never leaves. You're still reading the room, still over-functioning, still convinced that if you relax for even a second, something terrible will happen. Therapists call it hypervigilance, but you just call it normal. And the saddest part? You don't even realize how tired you are. Because you've been tired for so long, you think that's just how life feels. Now let's talk about something that might hit even harder. You learned that your needs don't matter. Not because someone sat you down and said it, but because every time you needed something, comfort, attention, protection, the adults in your life couldn't show up. Maybe they were drowning in their own pain. Maybe they were absent. Maybe they were just checked out. And so you adapted. You stopped asking. You stopped crying. You made yourself small. You became the easy child, the good one, the one who didn't cause problems. French philosopher Simone de Beauvoir once wrote, "One is not born but rather becomes a woman." But the same is true for trauma. You are not born believing you're a burden. You learn it. And once you learn it, it follows you everywhere. Into your friendships where you always give more than you take. Into your relationships where you're terrified of being too much. Into your career where you overwork yourself to prove your worth. And the cruelest irony? The people who love you now have no idea you're struggling because you've gotten so good at pretending you're fine. You've built an entire identity around being strong, around not needing anyone. And now, even when you're breaking inside, you can't let anyone see it. Because if you fall apart, if you admit you're not okay, then who will hold everything together? Pause for a second. If this is hitting close to home, I need you to know something. This is not your fault. You didn't choose this.
You were a child who deserved protection, and instead you had to become the protector.
But here's the thing.
You're not that child anymore.
And the survival strategies that kept you safe back then, they're not serving you now.
In fact, they're keeping you stuck.
So let's talk about what healing actually looks like.
Because you deserve more than just survival.
You deserve to live. Healing from a stolen childhood doesn't mean erasing your past. It means learning to hold it with compassion.
And the first step?
Acknowledging the grief. Because there is grief here.
Real, legitimate grief.
You grieve the childhood you didn't get.
The innocence you lost.
The carefree moments that were taken from you. Psychiatrist Elizabeth Kubler-Ross taught us that grief isn't linear. It's messy. It comes in waves.
And that's okay.
Let yourself feel it.
Let yourself be angry.
Let yourself cry for the child you were. Because that child was never weak. That child was unbelievably strong. But they shouldn't have had to be. Here's the second step. Reparenting yourself. This might sound strange, but stay with me. Reparenting means giving yourself what you didn't get back then. It means learning to comfort yourself when you're scared, to celebrate yourself when you succeed,
to rest without guilt.
It means talking to yourself the way a loving parent would.
Not with criticism.
Not with pressure, but with kindness. Psychologist Carl Rogers believed that healing happens in the presence of unconditional positive regard. Being accepted fully without judgment. You might not have gotten that as a child, but you can give it to yourself now.
Now here's where it gets powerful.
You spent your childhood following rules that weren't fair.
Don't be a burden. Don't cry. Don't need anything. Hold it together. But you're an adult now, and adults get to rewrite the rules.
So let's rewrite them. New rule number 1. Your needs are valid. You are allowed to ask for help. You are allowed to set boundaries. You are allowed to say, I'm not okay, without feeling guilty. New rule number 2. Rest is not laziness. You are not a machine.
You are a human being.
And human beings need rest, not as a reward, not after you've earned it, but because you exist. New rule number 3. You are not responsible for everyone else's emotions. This one's hard. I know, because you've been carrying other people's pain for so long, it feels like your job, but it's not. You can be compassionate without being consumed. You can care without caretaking. You can love people without losing yourself. Author Brené Brown says, "We can't practice compassion with others if we can't treat ourselves kindly." So, start there. Start with yourself. Here's something beautiful. You are strong. That part is true. But your strength isn't just about endurance. It's not just about how much you can carry. Your real strength is your capacity for healing. Because healing takes courage. It takes vulnerability. It takes the willingness to look at your pain and say, this hurt me, and that's okay. Writer Haruki Murakami once said, pain is inevitable. Suffering is optional. You've been in pain for a long time, but suffering, that cycle of shame, guilt, and self-blame, that's optional. You can break it. And when you do, when you finally give yourself permission to be human, to be soft, to need things,
that's when the real transformation begins.
Not because you become someone new, but because you finally become the person you were always meant to be before the world asked you to grow up too fast. So if you're watching this
and you recognize yourself in this story,
I want you to hear this clearly. You are not broken. You are someone who survived something difficult. And survival is not the same as thriving, but thriving is possible. It's waiting for you. It starts with one small act of kindness toward yourself.
One boundary.
One moment of rest.
One honest conversation.
It starts with saying, I was strong because I had to be, but I don't have to be that strong anymore. And maybe, just maybe, it starts with letting someone in, with trusting that you are lovable, even when you're not performing.
Even when you're not holding it all together, because you are. You always have been.
If this video resonated with you, I'd love to hear your story. Drop a comment below. Share what you're learning. Share what you're healing from. Because the truth is, we're all learning together. And your words might be exactly what someone else needs to hear today. And if you found value in this, if it helped you see yourself a little more clearly, please subscribe.
Hit that bell icon.
Share this video with someone who might need it, because healing happens when we stop suffering in silence and start speaking our truth out loud. Thank you for being here. Thank you for listening. And thank you for being brave enough to look inward. I'll see you in the next one.
Take care of yourself.
You deserve it.